Hello everyone, this is Shiny Noctowls, and tonight I figured it'd be nice to stream some 2004Scape for you guys. Figured it'd be nice to do. Let me see if I can get everything set up here. Hold on. Oh, I just learned, sorry. I just learned that, in Japanese, the name for Noctowl is, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, Yoru no Zuku. Yoru no Zuku. Also, Yoru means night, and Aobazuku? Brown hawk owl. Oh, that's pretty cool. I know it's been a while since I've, well, I don't know, how many days has it been since I've streamed 2004Scape? I know sometimes I can kind of be on and off. But, let's see. It's been a week, yeah. Let me see here. Yeah, I just had been pretty busy lately with a lot of things, and now, thankfully, things are starting to mellow out a bit, and always a nice feeling. There. No. Who's that? I see. Wait. Where are they at? No. Stream. This is crazy. Nah. No. Nah. What is... No. Hmm. Wait, wait. Yes. Um... Uh... Well... Saw Zoom. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't... Wait, hold on. Okay, so I'm trying to see what he's talking about. Okay, so there's a stream. Okay, I saw Cycle, and Cycle was running towards me. Okay. I saw you running towards me. Oh, shoot. Let me see. Um, okay. I saw you in the stream, in Zoom. Did you get her name? Okay, so, wait. I only saw you in Zoom. Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy though. I don't know. I Who is luring? Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, because I don't know you guys. I didn't... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Hmm, hmm. Sorry about that, guys. Interesting again. Hold on. Let's see here. Oh, let's see. No clues yet. Still have yet to get a one unique, but those easy clues have still been pretty fun to do. Just hoping to get one unique eventually. I don't know if it's easier to get uniques on hards than it is easy, because I got a fair bit of uniques from hard clues, but yeah. Love the sound of the rain. I don't know why, like, I usually love rain, and in the wintertime, it was nice for a while, like in the autumn, and then for whatever reason, I got a little bit tired of the rain. But now I'm hearing the rain again, it's nice. I don't know if it's because it's the spring rain. Maybe that's why I feel that way. 'Cause sometimes rain during different parts of the season, can feel different. I think a spring rain is definitely nice. No clues. Always a bad thing, though. I don't know if level 30 is when I can clean herbs. I'll have to see. Toad flax. Oh, 40. Oh, but toad flax came out later. Okay, so it's gonna be a while before I can clean errats. Yeah. Always a bad thing per se, but are you guys going to be alright? I didn't see the person on the stream mention that they have or because Did the person attack you? Like, did they scold? Are you sure? I've been attacked in Deep Wildy before. But I sorted on stream. I sorted it out. Or sorted, yeah. You could always carry a ring of life and teleport runes with you. Makes you... I usually do now. I even get attacked on level 2 wild. Only been once or twice. No. You guys... I streamed a similar situation. It didn't go. Interested? Okay for both, sounds good. No. What fashion skate? Nah, he's funny. Are you sure you don't want a beer and kebab? Let's see. Could give him one. What crafting level do you need to make Ring of Life? Do you need? Got what level it is. Oh, 43 crafting. Okay. I do actually. I think. Would you like to buy one for 5K? Oh, I don't know where he went. Huh. Oh, did he log or what happened? Sure. Oh, did he... Yeah, I'm not sure. Did you leave by chance? Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I see bronze. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I have the crafting level to make diamond rings now. But yeah. Yeah, I don't... Yeah, Yeah... I don't know. Oh, there he is. Okay. Would you still like to buy the thing? No problem. Yeah, I don't know. Finally got a clue scroll. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what happened there, but maybe eventually he'll... Oh, sorry. Sorry about that, guys. Mm-hmm. Not sure what you mean by that. Not sure. Yeah. Let's. Well, I appreciate the like, whoever left it. I'm not sure who it is, but just know I appreciate it. I had a feeling it was you, Hendrix. I wasn't sure because I looked at the Discord and I was like, well, Hendrix is offline on Discord, so I wasn't sure if it was you. But then I was like, but maybe it's still him, and I'm glad I was right because I just had a feeling. Like I was like, it could be him, but it couldn't be him. But I'm glad I at least had you like as one of the guesses. Yeah, glad you could make it to the stream. This one's been a bit interesting again. I know you've watched one of the streams where there was a PK or PvP fight here down in the Edgeville dungeon, and then they took it up near the bank. This one was different. This one, they didn't really, well, at least I didn't really see them exchanging blows, but Cycle, the guy who allegedly got attacked, was telling me that someone else kind of got on him, like maybe it was a little bit after a little bit before I came in, and he said that the guy, what's his name, Storm, he felt like he had like a friend that was trying to lure Cycle and stuff, and then Cycle said, he wanted to fight Psalm, and Psalm was like, I don't know what you're talking about, and yeah. Oh wow. Oh, so it's fairly early for you, or at least I think it's kind of early. I know some people are very much morning people, but I tend to be a night owl. I'm not sure if you're more of an early bird or a night owl, but anyways, so they argued in the bank for a while because I went up to the bank and they argued for like 15 minutes, and it was a lot of back and forth, not necessarily PvPing, but just kind of like them exchanging, you know, comments back and forth. Let's see. Oh, I'm almost at Ring of Dueling Charges. Oh no, I still got one more. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I've been living up in North Idaho for almost 6 years now, or over 6 years now, and even though I have some friends that are night owls like me, A lot of people in the area tend to be more like what do you call them? Early birds, and so they're the kind of people that if you call them, um, I don't know about 5 o'clock, but even like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, sometimes they think it's too late, and I can understand for some people, you know, it can be too late for them, but I think I've just gotten so used to kind of um, enjoying the night, as it were, that it's never been that much of a problem for me. But I know some people really struggle with. Some people struggle, you know, staying past like 8 or 9 at night. Uh, and of course, some people also struggle waking up at 8 or 9 in the morning. So I guess it can go both ways. But yeah. But they always try to. Some people always try to make the case for, you know, why it's better to be an early bird versus a night owl, where I think, you know, both are actually, both have their benefits, you know. But yeah, I'm off to work soon. Good luck on the clue. Oh, thanks. Oh, hopefully work goes well for you. Hopefully it's something that resonates with you. Thankfully, I've got myself into a position where, because I know how it feels like to do work that is not always as enjoyable. Thankfully, I mean, aside from my eBay business, I was a part-time web developer for a little while. I think like for like a year or so when I first moved out, and then I worked at a grocery store for like a week or two, and then I told myself, nah, I prefer doing my eBay business, and also I do pretty well at the stock market and YouTube, so I've been doing that ever since, and thankfully I've been able to do well with that. But yeah, hopefully the work you do is something you like, because if you like the work you do, then, you know, I think it's, you know, really can be motivational, like my eBay business. You know, I like doing it, and even though my YouTube channel isn't necessarily work yet, you know, if it ever did become work, you know, or like a passion like my eBay store, then so it could always be a nice thing. But and of course the stock market, I'm pretty good with that. So but yeah, no, I hopefully whatever you do is something that at least you find at least somewhat enjoyable. So thank you. Yeah, I love it. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, because I know some people really, they have work that they really despise, and I'm kind of glad that you've been able to find something that works for you. Okay. This one. I think this is the first time I've gotten this one. This one's Varrock, right? Southeast Varrock. Dig 1 square west of the fern. Okay. All right. Let's see. Oop, sorry about that. Is it here? Oh shoot! I forgot my spade. My bad. don't get it. I'm hoping for a unique this time, but if I don't get it, it's fine. Because I think eventually we'll get one. I just hope it's not like 90 times or having to do the clues having to do over 90 easy clues before we get our first one. Hmm. Wait a minute. Am I looking at the right one? Okay, so, oops, dig 1 square west of the fern. Oh, wait, is that here? Bush? Or, no, this one. Oh, there it is. Okay. It's something. It's something. I know I don't usually go here for gear, but I just wanted to show this for people who have 10 defense, who want to be 10 defense peers, or looking for extra block plate mail. I think you can buy them here. Or well, no, you can buy a black plate legs and a black full helm. Oh, you can also buy a blue cape. Yeah. It'd be nice to see more 10 defense peers. I don't know if people aren't really doing that right now because well, I think people would usually do initiate, I think, when they would do that kind of a peer. But I don't know if initiate, if you need 20 defense or if it's 30. I have to remember. Yeah, 20 defense, yeah. Yeah, it'd be cool to see more black, more 10 defense viewers though, because I feel like it has potential. Like even though people might say, you know, what, why have 10 defense when I can have 40 more, or when I can have one, but I think 10 could have like a special spot there. Let's see here. Okay, I might just alch this for now, because I don't know anyone wants this right now. Hold on, I got something from. How about this? Yeah, let me do that. Oh, sorry for that. The gifts. Ideas? I don't know how much gnats are going for now. I think maybe 400? Oh, actually less than that. They're going for 350, okay. It's just so nice to relax again. I feel like the last month or two, it's been, I feel like it's been so busy. I think partly it was taxes, but also just kind of just looking at houses and all that, and then deciding I was gonna still rent, and then talking to realtors, and then going to the house showings, and it's not a bad thing, but it just it really kind of put things in perspective that um, you know that it may not be such a bad idea to continue running for a few more years. And also, it seems like, from how things are going right now economically, I know some people were saying houses are going to keep going up and up and up, but I think the opposite is true now, which I know some people who want their equity, from the pandemic, may not be too happy about that, but for the everyday person, it will make things a bit easier, thankfully enough. So, but yeah, no, I'm kind of glad I decided just to keep on running. So now I can finally I can finally relax again. I feel like ever since I got a bigger chair, I don't know if I told you guys I got a new chair. I think I told Hendrix. My legs feel so much better now because it's crazy. I went through a growth spurt when I was 30. I was watching a Japanese YouTuber and he was talking about age, and I told myself that's probably why I age a bit more slowly than some other people because of my, because I am mainly European, but I also got like Japanese and some ancestry going back to like Egypt and yeah, like the indigenous people of, I guess, North Africa really. So it's like European, Asian, and then like a wee bit of like African. So it's like, it's crazy though how it all kind of comes together. But Yeah, it's like I just feel like the Asian part of me though. It's like it's not a bad thing though because actually some people would prefer not to age as quickly and so I mean it's not a bad thing. I mean I know like my dad's side of the family, I mean they're getting into like their 70s and they still look pretty good. But same thing for my mom as well, and my mom's side's mainly European, but they might have a wee bit of Asian from like medieval Asian steppe migrations. I've kind of started to understand that. Um, yeah, thanks, Hendrix. Yeah, I've been starting to understand, like, even in the medieval period, if you look at, like, Germany and Hungary, now I can understand why parts of Germany, they have this tradition about eating raw meat, like, with the, like, similar to the Eskimos and the Japanese with sashimi, because I found out that the people who came to Germany and Hungary in the medieval ages, like the Huns and the Huns and the Avars and Ruran, they weren't even really European. They were mainly Northeast Asian. So it's like, they weren't European, they weren't African. They were Asian, like Asian. Well, I mean, not necessarily like the same as Chinese, but they were like really close to like a lot of, you know, uh Asian nomads from the steppes. So like there's like different groups I think they call them Tova, Buryat, um, Orichin. But these are like ancestors that also were Invicts. They were like related to like the Northeast Asian ancestors of the Japanese and Koreans, and I didn't know that. I was like completely unaware, and so I found like I still have some of that as part of my ancestry, and I was like, okay, now I can understand like why some people like even if they say they have no Asian ancestry, why if they are predominantly European, like I can see why now some of them look Asian is because, well, they probably had some ancestors that came to Europe in the medieval period, and I guess they mixed, and that's what happened. And so like it kind of makes sense now, like why Japan might have like might appreciate like the some of the cultures like in Germany or like in Hungary and Austria. Not to say um like not to say like all the what do you call it? Not to say that it's all just negative, but to understand like the positive or kind of bringing back that Asian ancestry back to its source, back to I guess not only the steppe, I guess they'd call it Manchuria or like Siberia in that area, but also Japan. Because I think a lot of those ancestors also went to Japan and became who the Japanese are today. And so um, now it kind of now I can kind of understand like um, maybe why what do you call it? I can understand why some people with like for example like my Hungarian, Scottish, Canadian friend Sil like I think in some ways he would feel a little bit out of place because he would tell me um essentially that on his Hungarian side like he had some ancestry that wasn't fully European that and I think he was insinuating to the Magyars, which were Asian nomads who came to Hungary, I guess after the Huns and Buran and Avars. And I didn't want him to see it in a negative way because actually, I know the Asians tend to struggle with this too about struggling to see how they can embrace themselves. I think the Chinese especially, but I think the Japanese have been getting better about it too. And so I just tell them, well, it's part of who you are, and sometimes it's good to go back to the source of where it came from and then understand, there's always in addition to like my uncle says, my uncle Cherokee Japanese Herman and yeah, because I guess I never really kind of put two and two together about um like Asian nomads coming from the steppe. They went into Europe and then they weren't European at all, or well, they became European. They became European. Um, it's kind of like my uncle, like when he talks about like leveling up, like in Pokemon or like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or he tried to use Yu-Gi-Oh! As an example. But the best way I can look at it is this is actually not necessarily a bad thing because if you bring it back to Japan, then the Japanese can say, okay, well, I guess we understand you can still be Japanese and you don't have to be 100% Japanese. You can be Japanese and something else. And that's what's happening right now in Japan is you have people that are Japanese and Nigerian or Japanese and Italian or Japanese and Dutch or Japanese and someone from Peru or whatever. And I think that's like the good part of like the Asian ancestry to kind of show um you can still be Asian or you can still be Japanese, but you can also be all these other things too, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because then it kind of becomes like an anime where they're all speaking Japanese, but they all look pretty different. And so that's kind of like one of the positives I see. And I've told the Japanese that, and I think they kind of understand it. And I think even some of my like I guess Hungarian or German friends that connect more with the Asian steppe ancestry, I think they kind of appreciate it too because then they're like, okay, I guess we can be more than just one thing. So, um, but yeah, I just never really understood that until recently, and I didn't even know I had it. I had that ancestry myself, but I guess it kind of makes sense because it's like okay, like my mom or my dad's maternal grandmother looked like a geisha or looked like a geisha from Japan, and then even some people would mistake my mom for being Japanese, and because my mom's mainly European, but she might have had some of that Asian nomad ancestry connected to Japanese, and some of the nomads were not too far away from Japanese because I guess they had a shared Asian Northeast Asian ancestry. And so it's kind of like one of those things where I think my Hungarian friend said it best. It's like things come back full circle. And so um, my uncle just calls it converge and diverge, and I just say, well, I mean, it's not a bad thing to be part Asian. I know some people, they don't want to be, they don't want any Asian or they don't want any, um, any other group. But I've learned a lot from the Japanese, and I've learned a lot from the different Asian cultures, and it's not all bad. And actually, when I think about Japan and I think about all the people of mixed ancestry getting along and being happy, I think that's how it should be. Well, at least in my opinion, like because then it's kind of like an anime, and it's just like I don't see it as a bad thing. Um, and yeah, it's something that I've what do you call it? It's something that I've come to learn, I guess. Um, and I know some Japanese, like they'll say, like when they go to the US, I don't know about Europe, but like when they go to the US, like I guess they'll go to like to New York to like a this a subway. And I know sometimes some of the Japanese say that, we never experienced anyone kind of looking at us funny in in our own country, but then when we go to the US, to New York, some people call us names, and I say, well, that's one reason why it can be good to, show people um how to be inclusive, or rather, you can start it off in Japan. And then when you show people, hey, like, you can still be Japanese, but you can still be all these other things too, then I think they'll start opening up and say, oh, well, maybe we should have looked at it differently. And yeah, it's a lot. Like it's something that I've had to come to learn because it's really, you know, like my neighbor actually, he said he was from Bavaria. He's a German American, but I saw a guy from China and he looked just like him. And I told him I wanted to tell him it's like, you know, maybe some of those some of those Huns that the Chinese fought off and they went to Europe. I guess maybe some of them eventually integrated in China. But yeah, it's yeah, it's but I think like um it's one of those things where I you know, I think how it's going to help the Japanese is like it's going to help them understand. Okay, like well, we could you know because right now they've been struggling with their birth rates. They can understand. Okay, well, I guess we can still be Japanese, but then we can also be all these other nationalities coming in and you know mixing with us. And it has happened in Japan before where there were different waves of Asians that kind of mixed with each other, and now it's just kind of more of that, but just not only Asian, but also like, I guess really it's European, African, and you can say Native American, but natives really are, to me, they're kind of a mix of Asian and European. Well, I only say that because a lot of times when people of Asian descent and European descent, when they mix, a lot of them look like Native Americans, and that's usually because the Native Americans really are, I mean, they don't have the Anatolian Neolithic farmer ancestry that you would find in like Sardinians or like it's higher in Southern Europeans and Northern Europeans. But you will find that ancient North Eurasian steppe ancestry, which is like highest in Scandinavians like Norwegians, Swedes, Danes. I think even some people in Scotland and Ireland. And maybe that's why when the Vikings, when they came to the Americas and they met the natives, it was almost like they felt like they found like some kind of almost like a kindred spirit. And I think it's not only because of the Asian ancestry from the nomadic steppe, but also even that ancient North Eurasian ancestry that kind of migrated thousands of years ago. And so, yeah, it's like, to me, it's not really a shock, you know, when people say, oh, wow, like, why do I look like a Native American when I'm like like half Asian, half European? And it's not all of them, but it is some of them. I just say, well, because, you know, they already they already kind of mix. And yeah, it's you know, my uncle tells me like I've done a pretty good job like understanding DNA and stuff. And it's kind of helped expand my own horizons because I just didn't really fully understand it before. But yeah. Hey, Wartime. Hope you're doing well. Glad you could join the stream. Welcome. I'm just talking about ancestry right now in Japanese and Asian nomads who came to Europe, like the Huns, the Avars, and the Ruran, and I learned something cool in Japanese. I learned, and this kind of I watch an anime called Bleach, and they recently released the last season or the last arc, Thousand Year Blood War arc, which is kind of like a what if scenario if the it's the Japanese and some of the animators who worked on it, they were pretty direct about the symbolism, but it's kind of like it's a what if scenario if Attila the Hun met Kublai Khan, or Kublai Khan was the Mongol emperor who tried to invade Japan and didn't succeed, and also Vietnam and some other places. But yeah, it's basically a fusion of that with him being like the head of what they call the I think they call it Wanden Reich or something. Fighting the Golte 13, which is like the Japanese, and then the protagonist is Ichigo, and he's kind of like he has all these different ancestries that have come together, and then like he's kind of fighting the Stern Ritters, so it's kind of like the you know he's trying to help the Japanese, but then the Japanese are also having to learn from him too, because the Japanese are saying, okay, like now we understand why we're not just only supposed to be 100% Japanese, and then it's pretty crazy, yeah. Bro, I dated a Colombian girl that said a few bleach lines in full Japanese, and I was blown away when watching the Aizen versus Ichigo fight. Yeah, so it's interesting because, it's interesting you mentioned Colombia because, my dad and my uncle, you know, my uncle used to think, you know, because he was born in Colombia. I was born in the US, but he would say, I only see myself as that. And I told him, well, saying you're only Colombian is like saying an African American is only American in the sense that, yes, you can be Colombian or you can be American, but you still have your ethnicity or your ancestry or your roots or where you come from. I know some people don't like that because I know some people would say, well, I'm not like in Britain, some people might say, well, I'm no longer Nigerian. I'm just British, and or even like a person from India. But the thing is, your ancestry still goes with you, whether you want to deny it or accept it or not. It's just how it is. And now the way things can heal is like I told my uncle, because my uncle he really connects a lot with he's been with the Cherokee for over 40 years now in North Carolina, like a Native American tribe. And even though they tend to not, really accept other people, or they tend to, not really be fond of outsiders, kind of like how I think the Japanese are opening up a lot more now than they used to, but they kind of took him under their wing, and he kind of got the VIP card from them. And I told my uncle when I looked at my great grandmother Lita, she looked like a geisha from Japan. And I was telling him the reason why is because if you look at the maternal ancestry, some natives trace back to like ancestry from like Polynesia or Southeast Asia. Some trace it back to Mongolia or Tibet. Some trace it back to like um, Northeast Asia, Siberia, and then some trace it back to that region too, but also Japan and East Asia. And I told Herman, probably your grandmother, maternal grandmother, she probably had some ancestry related to the women of the Japanese or that kind of ancestral line. Because like the way she would laugh would really remind me a lot of the Japanese grandmothers, like the way they would laugh. Just kind of like that laugh that would light up a whole room. And now it's interesting because m- my or his or she would be my great grandmother on my dad's side, my dad's maternal side, and then it would be my dad and my uncle's grandmother on their maternal side. And so my great grandfather Cleves, who married her, my uncle said that he was from the well, kind of northwestern Germany, or so it'd be like a town called Cleve, which is like really close to the Netherlands. And the interesting thing is, I feel like more Dutch people know about Cleve or Cleves than when I think about cleave, I think of like cleaving with an axe, but like a fell cleave. But like more people from the Netherlands knew about cleave than people from Germany. I knew someone that was from the Netherlands, and they would tell me they would go to Cleves all the time to just buy stuff. I guess at one of the stores there. And so uh, and then my dad's father, his name is Siggy, and then I found out I had like because I'm pretty sure I probably got like some Scandinavian ancestry from both my dad's side and then from the Cleve side, or it's like kind of like I was surprised how much like Viking Danish I had, and I also have Celtic, a lot of Celtic as well. But I was surprised about the. I wanted to learn more about Scandinavia because a lot of in the U.S. a lot of people don't really talk about the history of Scandinavia for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's just not really spoken about. I mean, I guess they talk about the Saxons, the Jutes, and the Angles who went into Britain in the medieval period, but they don't really talk about, the Norse. Well, I guess they're closely connected, but it's kind of like I don't know why. It's like no one in the U.S. really says like they're like a Danish American or they're like a Swedish American or they're like a Norwegian American. I mean, some do, but it's not really like out in the open. It's kind of like more, it's more like hush hush, and I don't know why it's like that, but yeah, so um, yeah, it was just interesting to kind of learn about, and then of course I have like a lot of Celtic ancestry from not only Britain and Ireland, but also France and Spain and Portugal and Belgium, Netherlands, because there were Celts there too. Um, and then I have like some Greek and Italian, probably more so from my mom's side, Roman and Trojan and Spartan and all that stuff. And so um, it's like, and then probably my mom has some French too as well from her mom. And then probably her dad was part Basque, which is another group, uh, another group that's in kind of borders Spain and France, and then might have had some Visigoth ancestry. And the Visigoths were said to have come from southern Scandinavia, and they were the ones who kind of, didn't get along well with Rome at first. But then they kind of had to, stand together when they were fighting the Huns. It's like they were like kind of squabbling it amongst each other, and then when they had someone else they had to fight, they were like, okay, we're gonna have to work together on this. It's kind of like the red dragon and the white dragon in England or England and Wales. It's like the white dragon and the red dragon fight each other, but then when they have someone else that kind of wants to dominate both of them, they kind of have to stand together, and that's how it kind of was with the Romans and the Visigoths. And yeah, it's a lot of really interesting stuff. It's I tell my uncle I see myself as Rainbow Japanese because when you look at my ancestry, one of my closest genetic matches was like a sample from like Neolithic China from like 5,000 years ago. But that maternal haplogroup is more so found in Japan today. So like it started there, but then it went into Japan, and it's found both in like the indigenous Japanese, the Jomon, and the other migration of Asians who came later, which were the Yayoi. And so I found out, I guess that sample that I was related to was maternally it was East Asian, but then the ancestry was still like largely related to like Europeans, so like to Gallo-Celtic Sequani and Aedui, which were Celtic tribes that lived in France and which used to be called Gaul, and then Spain, Portugal, Switzerland, Belgium, that area, and then even southern Germany, and then there was it Cherusci, Thuringi, and then Gepids, which were like Germanic tribes. So that was really interesting to learn, that essentially this person, even though they had a maternal lineage that was East Asian, a lot of that person's ancestry was really European 5,000 years ago in that area in China, of all places. And they were related to the maternal ancestry in Japan. So yeah, it was like some pretty interesting stuff. So that's why I just tell people I'm just Rainbow Japanese because that's just the Asian part of my ancestry. You could say Raibu Japanese, you could say Japanese native mix, but I just say Japanese because I feel like it's easier for people to understand. And then the part of the ancestry that isn't Asian anyways for the natives really is related to Europeans if you look back at like well really more so Northern Europeans because like I said before the Scandinavians tend to have the highest steppe ancestry. Um, Not necessarily like Asian steppe, but call it maybe European steppe. But yeah, they have the highest part of that ancestry, and so yeah, it's just really interesting stuff. And I'm gonna try to see if I can explain this. Yeah, so like that's the easiest way I can explain it because it's then it doesn't confuse people. Then they can say, okay, well he's Japanese, okay, we get that. So he has some Asian in him, and then he's a Celtic healer, and that's the majority of my ancestry that isn't. I mean, aside from like Norse and Roman and Greek and like Ares and Thor and Zeus and Odin, you know, that's like the other part. And so yeah, it's just yeah, I know it's a lot, but that's the best way I can describe it. And I feel like I tend to get along well with Asians. Like I know there are some Native Americans that don't connect with Asians at all. Like they'll ask, you know, why are you related to, why do you feel connected to the Asians? And I just say, well, because again, there are some Asians that, I mean, some natives that, you know, do have a closer link to East Asia, and then there are some who don't. Or maybe they'll say, well, I don't feel related to Asians, but then they'll be related, they feel a kinship with like Southeast Asians, so like Filipinos, Hawaiians, Polynesians, which I still think are Asian to an extent, but maybe they don't see it that way. Um, and then of course there are even some natives like I think related to like people from like Mesopotamia and maybe from Greece as well, but yeah, and so it's such a nice reward. I'm actually okay with that because even though it wasn't a unique, it was still like, you know, black plate body and all that. Um, yeah, it's like that's the best way I can describe it. It's I think that way people kind of understand it because then they can say, okay, well, he looks a little bit Asian, but he also looks a fair bit, or you know, mainly European as well. It's it's not a bad thing. I just think sometimes people they really kind of struggle because some people they want to put you in a box. But I think people have gotten better over time. I think the better I've come to understand myself, people have been more willing to understand me as well. And I think one good thing I've done, because I've been growing my hair out for over 2 years now. Um, you know, I don't know why, but for me personally, I mean, I also grow a nice beard as well, and sometimes I get like red hairs that will grow out of my dark beard. But I always kind of had a feeling that when I had my beard long but my hair short, it just kind of didn't fit me well. I know some people can do short hair or be bald and have a big beard, but I just didn't really feel like that suited me. But when I would grow my hair out, and I know not only with the natives in America, but even the Japanese, I guess some people would say it also goes back to Confucianism in China as well, but in Japan they call it Jukyo. That growing their hair was also a big part of their tradition. I mean, maybe not in all periods of Japan, but definitely during like the Heian period in Japan, so from like the 800s to like 1200s, you know, a lot of the Japanese would grow their hair long. And so kind of doing that really has kind of balanced me. Like it just really, and of course, you know, aside from Asians and natives, you know, Europeans used to grow their hair as well, like the Celts and the Norse and even the Romans before Alexander the Great and all that. And I like my long hair. Well, I mean, it's not like super long yet, but it is getting longer. And it just kind of suits me well. I just feel um, like it just kind of, it just works. But yeah, so like Cause like I really wanted to learn, um, or I'm gonna try to see if I can explain this. I really wanted to learn, you know, why the Japanese, why not only the natives do certain things, but also why the Japanese do certain things as well. And now, now that I kind of understand it, now I can say, okay, now I can see why it all kind of makes sense. Because it really is a lot of information, and I know my mom, it took her a little bit of time to understand because I know, again, my mom is, she probably has some Asian in her, like a little bit, but it just probably comes from like ancestry that came from the steppe. And but she was actually the one who kind of motivated me to grow my hair like a couple years back. Just kind of, you know, giving me some hair products that she felt like would help me out, and it's done well. And actually it's kind of nice to not always constantly cut my hair anymore, because you know, I feel like now just kind of letting it grow out naturally has been a good thing. Um and I do want to go to Japan one more time because I've been there once. I really had a good time there. And I want to go there once more again, and I also want to visit Europe again as well because I did go to Italy and I had a good time there. I did go to Britain. I had a good time there. And again, most of my ancestry is from Europe, so you know there definitely is a kinship there too. No question. I guess maybe just the reason why I spent a lot of time trying to understand like the Asian part of me, even though it's not really that huge, is just because I just felt like it was something new, you know, something that well, I call it new. Some people may not call it new, but at least for me, it felt, you know, more new. And I just kind of wanted to learn from them. I just kind of wanted to learn, you know, the way they look at things. But you know, I think it's been a good thing. Like it's really um you know, like I feel like that, you know, because I always try to tell the Japanese that, um, you know, and it's a lot, like it really is a lot, because I know for a long time the Japanese, they tended to like stick to their own, and I guess the natives were kind of like that too in some ways too, like they would kind of, they wouldn't really branch out that much. And I think the Japanese have now come to understand, you know, okay, like, you know, we look at him and we know that, okay, he's mainly European, but he still has part of us in him, and he's come to learn about our culture. He's come to learn about who we are. You know, we can get along well with him, and he can get along well with us. And I think it's just something they appreciate. And I'm actually like, if it can help them, and maybe even other people, not just the Japanese, but even across the world. Because I know even in Europe right now, like, and of course the U.S. as well, but you know, in Europe as well, like it's kind of it feels like it almost feels like it's been more of a salad bowl lately. You know, people live together, but it doesn't mean that they get along. But you know, I think Japan is showing that, maybe even myself, you know, that people can come together and people can get along and people can, you know, just because they're different doesn't mean, you know, it's always a bad thing. And and I think like, you know, even in the U.S., like where I live, you know, there's been a history because I live in like the inland Pacific Northwest, and there's kind of been like a history of people kind of really struggling to, um, you know, kind of get along with each other. And then, you know, when they would meet me, they would say, "Okay, wow, he really is something we need." And and I would just tell them, well, you know, there's a reason why, you know, you can do things differently. You know, you don't have to always do things the same way, or you know, that you know, you can, or you can have a different perspective. And And I think like it's kind of I'm gonna try to see how I can break this down. Um, I think it's kind of helped them because to even understand their own ancestry, just to kind of like understand, okay, like, well, we look at Jem and he really is, you know, all these things that have come together, and then we look at ourselves and maybe we're also some of that as well. And yeah, it's I think what it is in the U.S. for a very long time, people would kind of look at things more so like, okay, like he's either black or he's white, or he's, my uncle would say he's a 1 or a 0. But when they look at me, it's like, okay, well, and I think it's the Asian part too. It's like, okay, well, Asians aren't really necessarily just black or white. They're kind of like that in between. And so, and then they understand, okay, well, if we have some Asian as well that we're not aware of, then maybe we even have a bit of that in between as well. And yeah, it's kind of something that um I don't know, I think has helped people. It's I yeah. And I try my best to explain it because I know it can be a lot for some people, but that's at least kind of what I've observed, you know, over time. But yeah, like when I tell people, you know, that I grew taller when I was 30 years old, they were like, you know, is there something wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't think so. I just think that's just like the Asian part of me saying, well, we know if you were, you know, we know if you were fully European, you know, you might have stopped growing in your early 20s, but we're gonna help you out a little bit here. And I don't see it as a bad thing. I think if it means that I age more slowly, I mean I know some people can see that as a double-edged sword, um, but I don't really see it as a bad thing. It's kind of just, you know, it's going to deviate from the norm, and so I just have to explain it to people. Okay, this is why it deviates, you know. And yeah, but you know, at the same time, I thought, you know, when I heard, you know, things about in Hungary and Germany that certain part, well, probably not all parts, but some parts, like they have this tradition about eating raw meat. I was like, wow, that to me that kind of deviated from the norm because I was kind of like, well, you know, if you go back to like, you know, ancient history, you know, or maybe not ancient, but like, you know, kind of classical history, like, you know, I don't really remember the Romans or Greeks eating raw meat, or I don't know if the Celts did either. I don't think so. Maybe we did, but or like certain Germanic tribes. But I really think that tradition of eating raw meat probably came from the Asian nomads, you know, who came to Europe in the medieval ages, and maybe people in Germany and Hungary don't even know that. Maybe they just think, oh wow, we've been doing this for generations now. And then they don't realize the generation when they themselves when they may have had an ancestor that was entirely Asian, that wasn't even European or African, I guess if you want to include both. But um yeah, it's just like some pretty neat stuff. And it kind of makes sense now, like why certain things are the way they are. You know, when I think about the countries that I enjoyed the most when I visited them, and I have been to several countries. I've been to Japan, I've been to Canada, I've been to Ecuador and South America, and the Galapagos, which are islands, which are actually pretty cool. They have a lot of pretty interesting animals there. And then, um, of course, I mentioned I went to Italy and Britain or England. I think every place has like a uniqueness to it. Like I think Japan had a uniqueness or has a uniqueness. The same thing with Italy. The same thing with Britain. The same thing, of course, South America, the Galapagos, and all that. And I just feel like that, um, you know, if I can kind of bring people together more, you know, whether it's people from, you know, Japan, people from Britain or Norway, or even, I mean, I don't really connect as much with African ancestry. I mean, maybe if it's like Egypt or like the indigenous people in the Canary Islands, like the Guanches and, you know, some of the indigenous North Africans, but even like with people that are like black, like I think they kind of appreciate my story as well, because I think they probably look at it as in the sense of, well, you know, Jem, you know, he's not necessarily like us, but he is the rainbow, which could include us as well, which technically they would be right, because the rainbow does include everyone, whether it's, you know, you're European or you're Asian or you're Native American Asian, or I guess Mesopotamian, or maybe you might be Greek as well, um, or you know, Black African or whatever. You know, to me, it's just I just try to do it in a way that if it can help people feel better about themselves, and if it can help people say, okay, you know, we feel more included, you know, when we speak to Jem, you know, then that's a good thing, you know. And so, but yeah, I think for me personally, I really enjoy, of course, the European cultures, because it is mainly part of who I am. That's why I'm called Celtic Healer, like my uncle calls me, and then my friend Mafi calls me her favorite Scottish American, because you know, I do have some Celtic ancestry from Scotland as well. And then of course the Asian ancestry as well. It's, you know, Japan, and learning about the Asian nomads and stuff has been pretty neat, and even China and Korea and Vietnam and then Africa, you know, you have Egypt, and then you have like the indigenous people in North Africa, like the Libyans and the Amazigh and the Canarians, and you know, I always kind of, you know, I had some friends that were African American, and I always kind of appreciate their warm energy, like like when they get like very enthusiastic in a positive way. Um, you know, and I feel like some of them are also like very good at commentating. Like I watched this African American YouTuber called King of Lightning, and I always love to see his reactions when reading One Piece, because he's always freaking out and he's always like carrying on in a positive way. And yeah, that's something I appreciate, you know, that just kind of that positive energy, and just kind of having a good time, I guess. But yeah, like it's kind of been nice just to, and then of course, like with the Japanese, what I appreciate with them is that when they do actually get all these people that you know are seemingly different, and they get them together, you know, kind of it makes me think of like the anime conventions, or like Pokemon tournaments, that okay, you have all these people that enjoy Pokemon, that enjoy anime, but you know, even though they're all, you know, ethnically different, you know, they find a way to come together, and I guess in some sort of harmony. I know it's not always perfect, but you know, in some sort of harmony with something they enjoy, you know, with a hobby. And and so yeah, I appreciate that as well. I think deep down the Japanese, and I guess it could include other Asians as well. I think they really just like bringing people together. I think that's what. I mean, I know it seems like on the surface, you know, they don't seem like that, but I think deep down they really do like people coming together. And then of course, you know, in Europe, um, what I like is well, I guess the depth of history, really. I mean, you think about, you know, the civilizations like the Romans and the Celts. Even though the Romans, you know, they for a time they saw the Celts as barbarians, they didn't realize, you know, that the Celts and Romans were really brothers, you know, with a shared ancestry. If you go back to like, you know, when they were still in the steppe, you know, and but yeah, it's just one of those things where, and then you have the Norse as well, the Norse and the Germanic tribes, and learning about that connection as well. Um, of course, you know, Britain and France and Spain, and it's a lot of history, but it's not all bad, you know. Of course, mistakes were made, but you know that's just what happens. You know, sometimes things you know are going to go well, and sometimes things are not going to go well. But when they do go well, you know that's definitely a good thing. And I think you know in Europe, what I've noticed is there's like the initiative. Like I think if you know of course you have the harmony, and of course you have the positive energy, like the laughter, but also the kind of like the initiative to kind of do things is also a good thing as well, um, or can be a good thing. And so that's kind of what I've noticed when I went to Europe as well, is just kind of that initiative, like that kind of that drive to succeed. You know, of course, you know, it can be found in Asia and the Americas and Africa as well, but I don't know. It's just it's kind of like okay, if you want to start a business, let's do it. You know, or if you want to open that food truck, okay, let's do it. Or if you want to build that house, okay, let's do it. You know, it's kind of yeah, let's get the ball rolling, kind of energy. So, but yeah, um, it really is a lot. But I'm glad I could share this with you guys, because hopefully you guys can understand the way I look at things a bit more now. Um, and yeah. I appreciate all the likes, by the way. No, it means a lot to me. I'm gonna see maybe if I can get one more clue. Because I've done two so far this stream, but I kind of want to see if I can get another one. I do want to go to Norway one day. I don't know if I'll ever. I don't know if I'll ever see Hendrix in Norway, but I do want to go there one day. You know. Um, I just don't know when. Because I do want to go to Britain and one more time, and then maybe Ireland as well. But I know traveling can be quite expensive, so that's why. You know, I don't know if another thing I could do is like, you know, I don't want to. I don't. Hopefully, like, you know, I don't want this to like kind of be seen in a bad way because I know, you know, in Japan right now, you know, they have kind of struggled a bit with. Well, I think you know, for a time they struggled with a lot of tourists coming in, or maybe even more than they kind of wanted. But I don't know if there'd be like a time where you know, like if I went to Japan, if you know, I could do a meetup with people from other countries as well. That'd be pretty neat. Because people do that, and that could be because you know Japan is. I think Japan's probably closer to where I live in the U.S. than Europe actually is. Uh, don't quote me on that, but I think I'll have to look at a map. And of course, you know there can always be meetups in the U.S. as well. But yeah, Japan I feel like has really been a good place for people to like meet up, and of course you want to do it in a way that's respectful. Um, but yeah, it's definitely something to always consider. Hold on, let me see if I can sell this black plate body. I'm gonna see if anyone wants it. Let me see if anyone wants this black plate body. I sold a black plate body to well, I think I sold a black plate body to you, Hendrix, didn't I? I don't know if you're still in the stream or not, because I know you said you had to go to work, but yeah. Gonna see if anyone wants this. Hold on. I'm gonna see if I can get this right here. Well, hold on. You like to purchase? No. No. Hold on. Mm. Hold on, I'm gonna do one more trip before I end the stream. Because I probably should get some sleep after this. Of course, I need to take a bath as well, and I wanted to see if, cause I dropped off some mail yesterday or the day before, and even though one of the packages was scanned, the other one, it was some plastic or some card storage cases I had that I wasn't using anymore, and I sold them. And I dropped them off at the kind of like the, I guess you call it like a parcel chute at the post office. Um, I dropped it off like the evening before, and they didn't scan it today. And so I'm hoping by tomorrow they'll scan it, because I know sometimes what happens is that, especially like when you use the partial chute, is that sometimes they won't give you that initial scan. You know, that they'll put the package in the truck, and sometimes it won't be scanned until it gets to like the next distribution center. So I think that's probably what happened. So hopefully, I'm hoping that so I don't have to drive to the post office tomorrow, because it's like a 4 to 5 mile. I mean, it's like a 10 mile, almost a 10 mile round trip. So I mean, it's not like a crazy distance, but it would be nice not to have to drive there tomorrow. If I can help it. See if I can get. The weather's starting to get a tiny bit warmer here. I only say tiny bit because it's still been fairly cool, but I have a feel, I can feel, or I do feel that spring is coming or is already here. You know, sometimes the winters here can um, go on for a fair bit, but I think thankfully now, I think things are starting to kind of change a wee bit. It's like now it's in the daytime, it's like in the 50s. It's going to be like in the 50s, and then we're going to have a few days in the 60s finally. Wow. Yeah, still mainly a good amount of days we're going to have in the 50s, but then a few days will be in the 60s. Yeah. Good. Oh, my uncle just he sent me a message I think about property values, because he was kind of advising me not to buy a house right now because of everything that's been going on, and I think honestly I made the right decision by continuing to rent, because I just feel like it's even just, I'm still single, so it's not like I need a house, and I got a pretty good situation with my rental situation, thankfully enough. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I might just have to. I hope by tomorrow it's updated, but maybe I might just open a case tonight as well for the post office, just because. Yeah, give me a sec. Let me look at something. Something's going on. Tracking. Yeah. I might have to go tomorrow. I hope not. I hope not. But we'll see. Maybe they just maybe what happened is maybe they just didn't even ship it out today. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna head off soon, guys. Ugh. I hope I don't have to go tomorrow. I really hope. Like, I hope when I wake up it says scanned, and then that way I can just enjoy my day tomorrow. I mean, I'll be able to enjoy it either way, but you know, I just hope that won't have to be me having to go all the way to the post office. Go. I'll also have to talk to my tax accountant as well, because since I work at home, I pay quarterly taxes every quarter, and sometimes they come quicker than than some might think, and so I have to also be aware of that as well. What's that, guys? Okay. I think the post office have to see what their hours are tomorrow. Okay. We'll see. Probably get up at around 12, close to 1, and yeah. If it's marked shipped, then we don't have to worry, and we can get more sleep if we want to, but see how it goes. There. Oh, no worries. Hendrix. Yeah, if gas also increasing in price as well, that's another reason I don't want to go to the post office because it's not like it's crazy. Well, it definitely has gone up a fair bit, but I'd rather if I can drive less than I need to, then that's definitely not a bad thing. So, alright guys, I think I'm gonna end the stream now. Hope you guys enjoyed, hope you guys had fun watching, and I'll be off for now. Take care.